nobody really thinks she's going to end up with Jeremiah, but there is a conversation about whether or not, like, they'll do the classic she picked herself thing. Where she ends up with neither of them.
Like, she's not going to end up with either of them?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that would be what Belly deserves.
It
Honestly.
would be.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Little Miss. For those of you who are new here, my name's Riley. I usually do this podcast with my roommates, Lauren and Taylor. Today's topic is going to be on The Summer I Turned Pretty, because the new season's coming out in July, and we're obviously like really obsessed with it. We want to talk about it, even though nobody asked. Because we want to go over like, we've all talked about this show like kind of a lot, but I feel like we could recap a little before we start talking about it in July, you know?
Right.
Someone did tell me, like, in person a few weeks ago, she was like, I thought about starting the show because you guys, like, won't shut up about it.
Yeah, we do talk about it a lot.
But even in that moment, I couldn't remember when we did, which is probably a testament to, like, how much I remember the information we put out. Did we do an episode on this?
Yes, we did.
We did, okay. Well,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
And we'll do another.
We just bring it up a lot, too.
No.
This was me. Okay, so I typed into chat and I sent you guys this, like, a little bit of like, oh, what's some things that we should talk about in this?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want to talk like more in depth about like some of the lists it gave us, like about Belly's main character syndrome, or do you guys want to like go over as a whole like what we thought of season 1 and 2?
I mean, we can talk briefly about season 1 and 2, just like for anybody who is a new listener, but we have done a podcast on it before.
We have.
I think we should get more into the nitty gritty, in my opinion.
Okay, perfect. Well, in that case, if for people that are like, I didn't know this show, I don't really know what's going on, you're not going to get it from this. You should watch the show, A, and B, we're going to go as if people have already watched it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, the first thing that was on the list was, chat was like, why don't you discuss some of, like, Belly's main character syndrome, which is something that I remember us talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, Lauren mentioned this in the scene with her and Taylor and Steven in that room. But also everything about Belly's main character, because she does that, like, I mean, technically it's narrated from her, but even the voice in her head when she talks about things as if it's just a book and it's happening around her.
Belly definitely knows she's the main character of this story, and she acts like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, that's not uncommon with main characters, but they do even, like, address that directly in season 1 where Taylor has that fight with her where she's like, there's other stories going on around you,
Yeah.
Like, this is not just about you. Other people are living lives and you just don't notice it.
How did you guys feel like season 2 left it to where it could be in season 3? The other thing is, like, it's based on a book, so we know, but do you think there's anything that, like, Jenny Han is going to change about season 3 in the show versus the book?
I don't remember the books that much, so I can't remember if Jeremiah is as likable in the books, because she's made him pretty likable in the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she did.
There is a lot of debate amongst the fan base about, like, at least on TikTok that I'm locked into, about what's going to happen at the end. Because in the books, spoiler alert, she ends up with Conrad, who is the older, broody brother who she's had a crush on for most of her life. She ends up with him. Mm-hmm. But there is a conversation. Nobody really thinks she's going to end up with Jeremiah, but there is a conversation about whether or not, like, they'll do the classic she picked herself thing. Where she ends up with neither of them.
Like, she's not going to end up with either of them?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that would be what Belly deserves.
It would be.
Honestly, that would make the most sense. I just don't think that would be a satisfying ending.
The theory started from, like, the promo photos being of only her, but I've seen some of the 3 of them, too, so I don't feel like that's enough of a reason.
Mm-hmm. It is a possibility. When I was on Reddit, I was looking at, like, the Summer I Turned Pretty, like, Reddit page. I was honestly surprised at not only how many were pro Conrad, but how many people thought Jeremiah was, like, the worst character, manipulative.
Oh, yeah, the whole internet hates Jeremiah.
I don't get that.
I was very surprised by that, too. However, I have stumbled upon the niche Team Jeremiah TikTok, where most of my people are pro Jeremiah.
See, and I see none of that. Mine's all Jeremiah's trash.
Yeah.
Really?
Team Conrad.
Yeah, it's definitely a raging debate right now of, like, which brother is the worst brother. And I'm like, you guys are all missing the point.
Yeah, Belly's the villain.
Yeah. Belly is the villain.
Belly is the villain.
Neither brother is the villain. Belly is the villain.
When you sent that TikTok where Penn Bagley was like, Joe's the worst character alive.
Yeah.
I want Lola Tongue on the mic saying that Belly sucks, because she does suck.
She's a menace.
She's a menace. I do think that the whole, like, obviously, like, the internet loves to, like, pick a villain. Well, not pick a villain. In this situation, they want to pick, like, a team.
Yeah.
And I do think that the show could have, like, ended on the first episode if they just made Belly like a non-toxic, likable character.
True.
Because she's so horrible. Like, she kind of has to be horrible to keep the story propelling.
True.
I just don't understand why people aren't actively like fighting over that in the comments.
Agreed. All right, Lauren, break down some of the pro Conrad propaganda and the anti Jeremiah, because then I'll break down the other side of it.
I think most of the pro Conrad just comes from the fact that it's like in any movie or TV show or book, it's the person that they were with first you just naturally root for. Mm-hmm. And then the second person that comes along, it's always like you're just waiting for them to get with the first person.
Yeah.
Kind of like in The Office with Jim and Pam, and then when he's with Karen.
Yeah.
Like you're just waiting for him to get back. Like I don't even think a lot of it has to do with Conrad being any better. I just think you feel like they're supposed to be together, so you find like Jeremiah being there annoying.
Right.
I also think people think that Conrad like knows her better.
Like he's more locked into Belly.
Like there's like the candy scene where like Jeremiah doesn't know what her favorite candy is.
I've heard
like,
too much about the candy
which
scene.
Is like
I'm so sick
this
of
is
the candy
not
scene.
enough of a reason to like not date someone, you know? Like that's actually not as serious as we're making it out to be.
Right.
But the internet thinks it is, and they're like, well, Jeremiah didn't know her favorite candy.
No, for real.
Then she could die.
Yeah, they made a big deal about the Swedish fish.
Yeah.
Swedish fish gate.
I think there's two kinds of people who really are like invested in Conrad as a character and like team Conrad versus Jeremiah. And I think the two kinds of people who really like Conrad are people who love The Notebook. Like the first kind is people who love The Notebook. They're like people who they think that love should be hard, that love should be something you have to fight for. There should be a lot of chemistry. There should be a lot of fighting. It should not be easy. And I think Conrad fits that mold very well, where he's not easy. He is going to make everything harder than it has to be. And Belly, honestly, kind of deserves it. Like, they kind of are perfect for each other that way.
They do.
I think the other kind of people who really are locked into the Conrad thing are people who dated a Conrad and it didn't work out. And I think, like, it's weird, but I think it's people, like, who dated somebody like Conrad who was emotionally withholding, who was a lot of fun when he was fun. When it was good, it was great. And when it was bad, it was awful. And they mistook anxiety for, like, attraction and a spark. And there was just, like, this roller coaster. But it was, like, a very intense relationship. And I think they get to play out this wish fulfillment and fantasy through Conrad of the person that they were so in love with at that time, who did all those things to them, changing and apologizing and becoming a better person. And then the relationship actually works out. Well, while you're looking at that, I'm also somebody on TikTok mentioned this, the candy scene. I'm going to talk about the candy scene for a second.
Yes.
Okay.
The candy scene is kind of dumb to me. Because, like, okay, Conrad knows her favorite candy. That's great. But in the beginning of season 2, Belly tells Conrad that there are scouts from Finch coming to watch her play volleyball. And that is a college she's seriously considering.
Yeah.
In the car ride, when Conrad's being very petty and being kind of a brat, which in fairness, I think he's actually not unjustified in how he acts in that scene. Like, Jeremiah and Belly were wrong for what they did. But he makes fun of Finch and is basically like, you could go to Finch. And he like implies it's like kind of a inferior school.
Okay.
And I do think that kind of is like, he remembered her favorite candy. He didn't remember she wanted to go to Finch.
That's true.
True.
Like he didn't remember that like
or
that
he
was
said it to be mean.
I think he was saying it to be mean to Jeremiah.
But you don't you think he genuinely forgot that Belly was like wanting to go to Finch?
That's the implication because she's wearing his brown sweatshirt. And
true.
she's like, or you could wear the Finch one, which is so like, I think it was very much about like, she had bought the Finch sweatshirt and it was about like trading one brother for another. It's about the sweatshirts. It's definitely about the brothers. And I do think it's interesting that like, he did forget that she had talked about the Finch thing.
What do you think about the entire concept of like turning pretty at she's 15, right, in the book?
She's 15. She turned 16 that summer.
Yeah. Okay. So this idea of like your life kind of like changes, like there's like this one moment where suddenly you're seen as attractive or like you're seen differently. Do you guys think that's true for girls, or do you think this is something that we kind of made for this TV show Or do you guys feel like there's a moment where you're like, oh, I feel like suddenly people see me differently?
I don't know if it's one singular moment, but definitely as you get older,
Yeah.
people just see you differently and start to treat you differently.
I mean, for Belly, it's when she takes off her glasses.
Yeah.
So I
Belly
think
falls into the classic rom-com trope.
yeah, where she just takes off her glasses.
And suddenly she's pretty. I do think it's true. I think maybe not quite that extreme of a moment, like Lauren said, like we're from 1 second to the next. But I do think if you don't see someone for several months, which is the case of the show,
yeah,
where they would spend summers together but not see each other most of the year. If you've gone the span of 9 months not seeing somebody in the teenage years, they can change a lot.
true.
You can go from gangly, awkward teenager to semi-adult in the span of 9 months for sure.
But I also feel like they had like a good segue where they didn't see each other for months. There is kind of a weird thing when you're a teenager where even though you hang out with these people all day, there is like a moment where you're like, oh, excuse me, like things are different.
Yeah.
You do kind of go from being one of the boys to like, oh, like she's a girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then didn't you say when because Lauren has an older brother, like then they stopped inviting you to stuff? Or did they always...
I don't think Raya, it was more like older brother, younger sibling. I don't think Raya ever wanted me there.
Okay.
When I was younger. Actually, when I got older, he would invite me to things. He was like, oh, you actually don't suck. But I don't think that was like a girl thing. I think that was like I don't want my kid sister here.
Fair enough.
Like, I'm older than you.
He said, gross. Get that out of here.
Fair enough. Taylor and I don't have brothers, so I don't really know. You have like a different perspective.
But I
on
would
that.
say like growing up, like when we were really little, when I would hang out with like Ryan and his friends, like I am just another boy. Like there's no difference. And then the older you get, it is different. Like you don't, of course you don't hang out the same way.
Yeah.
Conversations around like even just like what time you can hang out with them or like being in a car alone, like even your parents start to care more.
Yes.
Which of course it makes sense, but yeah.
It does.
There is definitely a moment where it's not the same as it used to be.
No, agreed.
I remember one because I had a best friend growing up that was like 4 days older than me, and we did everything together like the whole time when we were growing up. We were like really, really close. And I think we lived at the new house, so I must have been like 14 maybe. And we took our bikes down and then went to go see a movie, like Journey to the Center of the Earth or something. But just me and him like rode our bikes downtown to the movie theater, saw the movie, rode him home. And like we've done that our entire lives. Like that was like not weird for us at all. But I remember my mom had friends over and they were like, you went where? Like with who?
With a boy?
And I had my bike helmet in my hand. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So she said what?
Like in that moment, I genuinely like didn't get it. I was like, what are you possibly inferring? But there is a moment where it's like, oh, we're not all just the same.
Yeah.
And but for Belly, it's like, this is an awesome TV show where you have two brothers that are like in love with you. And for me, it's like, well, who's going to go to the movies with me?
No, actually.
Tuesday at like 12.
Actually.
I do think, and there are girls like this. I do think the show amplifies this very much where Belly is so locked into the opposite sex at 15. And I'm not saying like that's impossible, but I do remember at 15, I was not as obsessed with boys as she was.
Yeah.
She is so, even before that, like as a child, she's so locked into Conrad.
True.
She
I think
is
there's just
obsessed
girls
with him.
like that though.
Yeah, I've definitely met girls like that. I guess it just depends who you are.
It's so weird to me.
Yeah.
I mean, not weird, I guess, but just like,
You just can't relate.
I cannot relate. Because like anybody I liked at 13, I outgrew that real quick.
Yeah.
By 15, I was over that. Even if they were like an older boy in my life, I'm like, that's disgusting. Absolutely not.
Yeah. This is like one of the only prompts we've had on this show, Lauren, where I feel like it's interesting to have the perspective of knowing you when you were younger. Yeah. Because I remember that moment for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember like all of a sudden where I'm trying to remember exactly what it is, but I do remember that moment where I saw you because we weren't in the same like church for a second, and so I saw you like one day and then the next, and I was like, oh, Lauren's like a woman now, like Lauren's gorgeous now, and it is.
Yeah, you do go from being a little kid to like a young woman, as they say.
Yes.
No, I do remember like seeing you. Seeing you when you were probably like 15, 16, actually, much like Belly, and I was like, oh my God, she's so pretty.
Yeah, there is like a switch, which I always think of us as equals, and I still do, obviously, but this is the only time where I'm like, oh, I remember that for you, and you don't remember that for us.
Yeah, there's enough of an age difference between us that there was a time where it would have been like,
yeah,
you were just a little person.
I was a little kid, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Taylor, what's the age difference between us again?
Yeah, what is it? It's kind of crazy.
It's actually crazy.
8 years.
8. So like 8 and 16 is like crazy.
Yeah.
No.
Like now you don't. Yeah, like
Lauren doesn't have a memory of us babies.
yeah, literally. Like now it's nothing, but at the time, yeah, I know what you mean. We're like, even in our relationship, it went from me being a little kid to me being someone you would actually want to hang out with.
Up here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And I, of course, do not remember the same because I'm younger than you guys.
No.
you would have been in the womb.
Yes.
No. Yeah.
I do remember just like the first time going out in public, getting like when you start to get like male attention.
Yeah, and that's
a
weird
big
moment
switch.
too. Yeah. Do you remember what it was?
I can't remember like one moment, but
I agree. There is like, yeah, I'm trying to think of my moment too, but I agree where there's like a moment where you're like, oh, and then honestly, a lot of times people have to explain it to you. Where you're
I remember my parents having to be like, oh,
Yeah.
like you don't see like
could be
that
in jail.
creepy man in the corner looking at you. Yeah. But then at the same time, it's also, you know, that TikTok trend right now where it's like me thinking that like the lifeguard wanted me. No, it's also like that though, where like a part of you is like, he's totally looking at me, and they're really not.
Yeah,
They don't
so
care.
like 50-50. Yeah, I know.
It's
I know exactly
50-50, but
dude, I could body that trend. There were so many men like 10, 15 years older than me that were in like their late teens to early 20s, and I was like,
They like me.
I was like, they have to notice
They're like putting on the pink lip gloss.
no, actually.
Like, they have to notice my new polka dot shirt. They didn't. They didn't care.
did.
They stuck me in a trash can.
If they did, it would have been really weird.
And that's the thing. All the comments are like, I get this so much. They would be in jail.
Yeah.
And they should be
And
in jail.
they should be in jail.
That's so funny.
God.
I definitely went from being like busted looking to a normal human being.
I don't really think you were ever busted
Nah,
looking.
I went through a really rough phase.
I feel like all kids do though.
Well,
Or should.
They did back then. Now they don't. Then that's gonna piss me off. The summer I turned pretty isn't even applicable anymore because like they go from like
Yeah.
they go from diapers to freaking lip balm and contour.
Yeah,
like
like,
it's actually crazy.
They got a skincare routine.
yeah in the
Okay.
crib.
Like I was using that Clean and Clear with like those little micro beads
yes, they're like terrible.
yeah,
for
like
your
like
face.
give you more acne. Yeah.
They like rip the molecules of your face.
Yeah.
Or there's Azariah's cancer patient stage.
Where he had
Oh my
no hair
God.
and no teeth. Yeah.
They don't
No.
let that slide in 2025.
I had
Yeah, kids have to have hair. They have to have teeth.
bad hair, busted teeth, busted skin, busted outfit. Like crazy that other people don't have to go through that.
It is. I mean, we could honestly do a whole episode reacting to our old photos because I feel the same way. Where I'm like,
Yeah.
don't bring that person up.
Yeah.
Don't. The only thing it's given me is the fact I'm funny.
I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
her.
Yeah, and we are
I don't
funny.
know her. I don't
are
want to
funny.
know her.
No, I don't want to know
My
her.
family members will just send me photos sometimes.
They do love to sneak attack.
I don't know who that is. I've
Yeah.
never seen that girl. I don't relate to her.
Yeah.
Also, why would you do that?
No.
Re-traumatizing.
A separate, I don't feel like it quite fits the theme of this podcast, so I would say it would be for a separate topic.
Yeah.
But a separate topic is growing up. Like, because if you were always normal looking, you just feel that way your whole life.
Yeah.
But like the imposter syndrome it creates when you did grow up ugly,
Yeah. Yeah.
how like your viewpoint wouldn't switch.
No, that would be good.
Because I feel
True.
like Belly
Episode.
kind of has that where she's not used to the boys like being interested in her at all.
Yes.
That's kind of an interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also funny because
Story there.
we
That's
both
true.
know people who were like conventionally unattractive and then hit a crazy glow up. And one of the excuses they use for treating people badly, they're like, I don't always look like this. I didn't always look like this.
Which is not no.
Okay,
I feel like
and
that's also what Belly does, where she's like, hey, I don't know, I didn't always look like this, so I guess I gotta create as much chaos as I can.
It's like that one quote: "Cool motive, still murder."
yeah.
Like you actually can't do that.
no, you can't.
You can't be a bad person, yeah.
Literally.
Just because you used to be like
That's not.
unconventionally, like not conventionally attractive.
Yeah, I'm not used to getting girls' attention. Okay, I don't care.
So you still can't treat people like that.
Yeah, they're still people, you delusional freak.
Yeah, something that didn't change was your humanity.
Also, yeah, no, you were always a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were always a person. Like, get up.
Do you never learn basic human empathy?
It's from grown men. But Belly, I agree. It's the same thing. We should do an episode on that where it's like a little bit of like, there is this piece of, well, I don't know what I'm even doing.
Or even the way like Taylor's always trying to encourage her to like dress a certain way.
Yeah.
Like the first season she wears that like black swimsuit, which is like fine, but it gives very like youthful. She struggles to,
it's a child swimsuit.
Yeah. Like the growing pains of still feeling younger, even though on the outside you don't look that way anymore.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about I'm trying to think of what Belly's mom did in the show. Like, Laurel's one of my favorite characters. But this idea of your daughter is, like, clearly, obviously, a little kid for this amount of time. Like, and then suddenly you have to get to these milestones of, like, when does she get to wear makeup? When does she get to wear two pieces? And that reminded me where it's like, I wonder at what point someone like her mom was like, well, I guess you can wear something different other than this black swimsuit.
What were your parents like with that? My parents were actually very laid back with that.
Really?
There was never a conversation of like when I could start wearing makeup. I just started wearing it one day.
Really?
Yeah, and they were very badly, by the way. They let me go out looking completely horrible.
Talk about busted.
Yeah.
We all did that. Me too.
Blue eyeshadow, no blending. But they didn't really care. Like, they teased me about it, but it wasn't like you can't wear that.
Even when your mom was alive?
My mom passed away when I was 10, so.
I feel like that might be a little bit because I don't think your dad necessarily, I don't know if your dad would have wanted to be the person to be like, you can't do that.
That's true. It could be. And then I do have a stepmom, but I feel like it would be hard to come into that situation
and be like, you can't do that.
That might change the dynamic a little. But
so
I agree that your dad might have been chill about that to begin with. Mom treated it very much case by case, and the fact that she probably would have wanted Taylor to wear makeup.
Yeah.
She actually had someone, which was nice. She had someone like older come in that was really good with makeup, and she you remember that?
Yeah.
She brought Amber over. And so she had them like go to CVS and get like this amount for this products, like how to use them.
Oh, nice.
She helped me go to CVS and like pick out some products and teach me how to use them.
And you think you're 14?
I was 14. I remember distinctly when I started wearing makeup, or started occasionally wearing makeup. It was 14.
But mom like wanted you to do that because mom was worried that you never would.
Yeah.
Mom was
I
like,
had no interest.
Mom was like holding, like prying lip glosses from my teeth.
Yeah, y'all had opposite.
I wanted to wear makeup. I wanted to wear it in my crib.
Yeah.
Like, we had many conversations and a few fights about when I was allowed to wear this and when I was allowed to wear that. And,
I think
I wanted it the whole time.
It was always tough for you growing up with almost everything because I was 3.5 years older.
Yeah.
So like when I was wearing makeup at 14, you're like, so I should be too.
Yeah. Because then,
there's this like, so we're equals.
Yeah.
And mom's like, in almost everything, but not this.
Yeah.
You can't wear makeup at, how old would you have been?
I think I would have been 11.
You would have been 11.
Yeah.
She's like,
But
you're not wearing
even
makeup
then,
at
I
11.
don't think it was so much about age. I think it was about her personality, where mom was like much more hesitant to let me do that because she knew I'd go full sicko mode.
Yeah.
And she was like, I think she was more worried about me overdoing like my sexuality when I was that young, and she was worried about you never having a feminine side.
Yeah, I do think we had very different problems, or not even problems, but just personalities.
Which is fair. I mean, she wasn't even wrong. Like, I think you did need someone to help you with that, and I did need someone to grab the lip gloss from my paws, I guess. Yeah.
When did she start letting you wear makeup?
I remember getting to wear lip gloss if it wasn't too pink at the old house, so 9 or 10. And I couldn't wear mascara until I was at least 13.
See, we never had conversations about like what kind of makeup was allowed. Like when I did start wearing makeup, my stepmom like showed me like her favorite like oh, this is the foundation I like, or like this mascara I like. But there was never a conversation of like you shouldn't wear red lipstick yet, or like I relate to that. I remember my friends having those conversations, but it was never really that strict.
That's very interesting because your house was very strict
in a lot of ways.
So it's interesting that was not one of the things.
Similar to Taylor though, I never really I've never really worn that much makeup.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was really trying to do a full beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was. I was like,
and you're great at makeup now. It paid off.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on YouTube.
You spent a lot of time on it. You did a lot of trial and error, and I do think the golden child syndrome is a problem, and Lauren and I both suffer from it, which is if we're not good at it immediately, we won't do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Or if we're not good like the first few times we try it, we're like never doing that again.
And let me tell you, if you want to talk about busted, I have some horrible phases with makeup.
But I do think it's better to make mistakes and to look a little ugly occasionally and then figure it out than to just never do it because you're afraid of you're going to look dumb.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And that is me. I was like, I look dumb in this. I look like an absolute buffoon.
And seen.
Seen.
Did you guys ever have a thing with like getting your ears pierced? I remember kids at school would have like an age where they could get their ears pierced.
No, I don't remember that ever being an issue.
Mom was basically like, you can get your ears pierced when you're old enough to take care of it yourself.
That's fair.
Like when you can clean it out and everything. Which is fair.
She was very against like babies getting their ears pierced because she's like, I'm not going to clean that.
Yeah, it's a lot
This
of work.
is another thing for me to do. I don't think so.
Yeah. Although I see like the benefit of doing it with babies because I was not about that life. No. My mom always says they took me to Claire's and the girl did one ear, which by the way, the people at Claire's have no training on how to pierce. No. Don't take your kid to Claire's. Like I can't believe we all did that.
No.
Like, we're in justice with a freaking nail gun.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Take them to a professional piercer if you're going to get your kids' ears pierced. Claire's is not where it's at.
But everyone did it. And so the lady did the first ear and then I was like, sobbing, we're never doing this again. And my mom was like, well, yeah, we actually immediately are because you have another ear.
No, Mom said, you cannot leave the store with one ear pierced. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Riley was 8. I remember that.
Was I?
Mm-hmm.
Man.
I don't remember how old I was, but I remember Riley was 8.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap up with the last part, and that's Laurel and Susanna, and then we'll call it a wrap. I think people think this is like a really dumb teen show, which it is. Obviously, it's really
it
stupid.
for sure is.
It's for sure dumb.
The quality is low. Everyone should know that. I
always tell people that like it's not a good show. You should watch every single episode.
No, it's amazing. It's not good.
One of like but I feel like there are more serious topics. One of them, of course, is Susanna's cancer diagnosis. One of them that they managed to write really well and pretty like deeply is the fact that Laurel, Belly, and Steven's mom, and then Susanna, the boy's mom, actually have like a very interesting decade-long friendship, if not marriage. Honestly, we always say that like they're actually wives and their husbands are just there.
Yeah, Susanna and Laurel, I think, are actually the two more interesting characters in the show, even though they're background characters.
Yeah.
And I do actually really like their friendship, and I think both actresses do a great job portraying the nuances of the relationship.
Right.
I do think if you want to look for the actual character who's manipulative, who's kind of a monster, it's Susanna.
Yeah. Susanna's a villain, and she created Belly.
No, she, like, I rag on Belly a lot. If you look directly to the left, you will see Professor Frankenstein crafting his monster, and it's Susanna.
Yeah, 100% agree.
No, the way that Susanna plays with those kids' lives, honestly, their whole life, but especially like when she knows she's dying, the way that she just uses them like pieces on a chessboard, like honestly like Barbies.
She
like
also
toys.
has main character syndrome, in which she thinks that they are just toys.
Yeah, she doesn't even
her life, and then like she'll just like set up situations, or their whole life she'll tell Belly like, you need to end up with one of the boys.
You're gonna marry one of my boys for sure.
Which is like, of course she thought coming in that once she was pretty she would get one of them.
Yeah, she's like, Conrad's gonna try to push you away, but don't let him. Like she's so locked into like this fantasy she has with these kids that she never considers the real world like consequences of her actions in setting up this incredibly toxic love triangle that she has set up from day one. And I do think it's funny in the second season when she becomes sentient of it for the first time.
Oh yeah, like, she's like when Jeremiah's upset.
Yeah, Jeremiah's like sad because Conrad is taking Belly to prom, and Jeremiah's clearly upset, but like, and she's like, oh.
Like you care.
I may have made a mistake.
It's like Buzz Lightyear when they switch his like his switch off.
Yeah.
No,
And she's like, "Oh, I didn't realize that I can't just do that."
Oh, I didn't realize that you guys
Spanish mode.
I didn't realize you guys had feelings and emotions and like autonomy.
Yeah, when Susanna discovers autonomy.
Yeah, she's messy.
Yeah.
She is messy.
I do agree Susanna is a villain, but I do like the way that they wrote Susanna and Laurel, because even in the first episode, I think, when she's like, I forget exactly how she says it, but Belly's like, we don't invite husbands to this. No. Like, sometimes they show up, but like the beach house was for Laurel, Susanna, and the kids.
Yeah.
It was always about them. And then like even the whole thing is like pretty much centered around them. Like, this would never have happened without them.
Yeah.
They basically met in college and created like this whole life of where just revolves around each other.
It's a very unique ecosystem.
Us core.
Yeah.
No,
I'm like
us core.
And I do, despite the fact I think Susanna is a villain, I do like the character, and I really like her and Laurel together.
Yeah.
And I think that's something people sometimes miss today in media literacy and talking about things, is like, you don't have to like think a character is a good person to enjoy the character.
Yeah.
Like, there's nuance to it. And I think Susanna is kind of a monster. I also think she does good things, and she is an interesting, very fleshed out character with a lot of like moving parts.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
And I think Laurel is very similar, where Laurel can be cold and she can be very standoffish in a way, like Susanna is so like warm and like invested, like involved, and Laurel's more standoffish. But I think together their dynamic is so interesting, and like I like watching it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's honestly a shame. I know we're gonna get flashbacks in season 3, but it is a shame that this is another thing that this show did that's not just a teen show, is they really like pulled the trigger and killed Susanna.
Yeah, she does actually die.
Yeah, she actually dies. A lot of teen shows are like, oh, but we found the treatment, and like, no, like she's in the grave.
Yeah, she's dead.
So I think it's a shame, even though we'll get flashbacks, that they did kill her, because I did like her and Laurel a lot together. And I think I liked this idea of like, as we grow older, the like world that they set up and they built was just as good as when it was younger. Like they built this world that I'm like, I could definitely enjoy that and have that.
Agreed.
Yeah. And it wasn't about men. Interestingly enough, since Susanna is like so, Belly, you need to find a man, she really revolves like zero of her world around men.
No,
like at all.
She's very invested.
She doesn't want her husband there even for 4th of July. She's like, what are you doing here?
She's like, why are you here? She's very invested in romance. And I think she's the kind of person who would love The Notebook. Yeah, you know, she's the kind of person, the first type of person who loves Conrad. She's a Notebook lover. She loves the idea of romance more than the actual reality of it.
Yeah. No, I actually think that's true. I think you were spot on with that. Anyway, any closing thoughts on the show and anything that we're excited for season 3?
Didn't you want to ask ChatGPT?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Before we leave, we're going to ask ChatGPT, Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah?
And we're going to get Chat's insight here. And you have to like ask him in a way where it's neutral. No leaning one way or the other.
We did ask Chat the men versus gorilla, and that was funny because he was so pro gorilla.
He was really locked in, and I appreciate that he locked in.
He like gave us even like different terrains. Every single one was gorilla. He's like, well, what if it was like an open field?
Yeah, it was actually crazy.
He said the men might have a slight advantage. Still gorilla.
Okay, let's see.
What does Chat have to say?
Okay, he says, Conrad brings the broody, deeply emotional, tortured soul energy. He feels things intensely but struggles to express them. If you're drawn to slow burn romance and emotional depth, he's your guy.
Okay.
Jeremiah, on the other hand, is more open, fun, and affectionate. He's the golden retriever type, always showing up wearing his heart on his sleeve. So it depends on what kind of love story you root for, the angsty, complicated one or the warm, dependable one. And then he says, if I had to pick based on the emotional arcs and long-term potential in the story, I'd lean slightly Team Conrad, but only just.
Boo.
How about you?
I mean, I am Team Conrad. So
ChatGPT is Team Conrad.
that is,
All right.
yeah,
Well,
He's just
fine.
saying it because he knows the answer.
true.
True.
That is the other thing where it's like, are you guys saying that or you just read the 3rd book?
Yeah, Chat. I
You
said,
just have access
what's
to
your
Amazon
opinion?
Yeah.
I watched somebody else do this on TikTok, and Chat picked Jeremiah. So now I'm just thinking that's fake, and it doesn't actually know.
Interesting.
I mean, maybe she's talked to him about
Yeah.
No,
I mean, chat.
I mean,
is
you can
what you've
skew
made it.
chat.
Yeah, you can definitely skew chat.
in
I've seen it
fairness,
done.
in fairness, people lie on TikTok, but she said she hadn't, and she she asked about The Summer I Turned Pretty and like the pros and cons of both, and then she said like, at the end she was like, so which one do you think Belly should end up with? And it picked Jeremiah. So I think it's just like random. It must be random.
I do like how he put it with the slow burn. That was what I was trying to articulate, and that's not what I said. I think listening to what Taylor said, I think I've finally like landed on the fact I'm Team Conrad for myself, because I am like reliving that.
Yeah.
And because in my perfect world, the slow burn, like, what was the other word he used?
Brooding?
Emotional emotional depth.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like that's the one that I would go for. But honestly, the real reason why I pick it in the show is because they deserve each other, and Jeremiah deserves better.
Yeah. Who are you, team Lauren? Do you
Conrad? But
prefer Conrad?
I think I like Jeremiah. I just don't feel like Belly should sink her claws into him.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not Team Conrad because I don't like Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Because I think they're perfect for each other.
When he's at the golf cart putting stuff away because he didn't kiss her during Truth or Dare, and Belly goes, huh? She goes, I just never seen you turn down a Truth or Dare kiss. Granted, she's been a villain for about a year. And done some horrible things. Actively broke up with him. The night his mom was diagnosed, or he found out he had cancer. She goes, I just never seen you turn down a Truth or Dare kiss.
And he's like, the last time we kissed, I found out my mom had cancer, and then you immediately cheated on me with my brother.
She's like, she unplugs her ears.
Whatever.
Yeah, Belly freaking sucks. And Jeremiah should find better because he's a nicer person, and Conrad and Belly deserve each other.
Exactly.
No, I think
that is like the end of it.
I am Team Jeremiah, but it's only because I do think Jeremiah is like the only genuinely good person in the show.
Yeah.
Like he's not perfect, he's nuanced, but like I do think he deserves better than Belly.
Yeah. Also, I think that these people that are like, he's so manipulative, you're completely discounting the fact he's a golden retriever.
No, he's
like,
not.
You're taking his character completely out of context. He can't be a golden retriever and like the depiction of the fun, emotionally like intelligent, just like nice person and be manipulative, you stupid idiots.
See, that's the thing is like you kind of want it both ways where like he's not smart enough for Belly, but he is smart enough to be like a master manipulator, like like scheming on the sidelines.
Well, chill out.
Okay. I mean, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for it. I think that's everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, bye.
Bye.